Okay. Welcome to the show, everybody. This is your beautiful host, Just Mo speaking, and you are listening to the Retrain Your Brain Effect. Before we begin, I just want to let you know that this episode is being sponsored by Dear Me, self promo, Dear Me by Mo Martin. What to tell yourself when you feel stuck. This book is perfect for helping you organize your thoughts, get a clear mind so that you can make strong decisions for your life and get things uncluttered. Okay, here we go. I have such a beautiful guest with me today, Larin. How are you, beautiful? How are
I
you?
I'm so well. I'm really good, and I'm so happy to be here.
How can you not be after a round of applause like that, right?
I know exactly. I was like Wendy Williams show, like at the end, right?
Yeah, you have no choice but to feel good after that. I am so excited to have you on this show.
Thanks, Mom.
I mean, this is for me. I know I'm doing this for other people, but for me, I'm hyped because I am such a fan of yours. Larin and I have been friends from high school, and then adult life happens, and then we've recently reconnected, and I am just such a fan of you, Larin.
Thank you. I'm a fan of you too, and I love that. You said adult life happens. We reconnect, and it was like we never missed a beat. It's
Exactly.
crazy.
Yeah, we just picked it right up.
I know. From like when we were 14, 15. So it's really, really special. And I'm happy to be here.
Yes, and you look gorgeous.
Thank you. You
What
too.
what is this shirt? I need to see the shirt.
What?
I need
Well, I'm not going to stand up because we all know how we do on Zoom now. But I'll give a little some.
Yes. Oh my gosh, it's beautiful.
It's just thank you. It's a silk blouse. Thank you.
Oh, we do silk now. Okay.
Yes, I was noticing our wardrobes because you're in nice hot Florida with the tank top on, and I'm in the Bay Area.
No, it's a dress.
Oh well, it's cold here.
Is it? But you're in
Yes,
California.
yes, it's cold here. I mean, it was 40 degrees this morning.
Okay, that maybe okay. Well, I'm just gonna admit right now, geography is not my strong suit.
Well, I was the same. When people say California, they think hot and sunny.
Yes.
But there are very cold areas, and there are microclimates, and it can get chilly. And where I live in the Bay Area in Silicon Valley, close to San Francisco, it gets very chilly.
Oh,
So,
it is. Okay, but you look gorgeous.
thank you. You
That weather
too.
out. Thank you
You
so
too.
much. Okay, so the title of today's show is called The Call. And listeners, you're going to understand the name of this title once we get into the story. But Larin, I invited you onto the show because social media again, my best friend, right? Scrolling through social media, and I'm cheering on my friends from all the way over here in Florida and everything. And I scroll across one of your posts where you're holding a baby. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. I missed the whole
You missed all of it.
I missed the
Right.
pregnancy. I missed everything. And of course, very happy for you, but I'm like, oh my gosh, I missed it. So let's get into this story because that's not how this all took place, correct?
Right, right. I was like Kylie Jenner. I just popped up, but in a very different way.
Exactly.
I was,
Yeah.
I was, no, I only referenced Kylie because I was just listening to her and how she said she stayed in her house her entire pregnancy. So, it was a surprise to all, and I feel like that was probably what it looked like for many people who were following me or watching me. On Thursday, I don't even remember the date, but on Thursday in July 2019, if you saw me, I didn't have a baby. And then on Friday in July 2019, if you saw me, I had a newborn baby. So,
Right.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay,
So
so let's get into the story.
you just want me to, okay. Well,
Let's talk about it.
I
So,
don't know where to begin.
well, the beginning is always a good place to start.
Okay, yeah, yeah, okay, yes. Geez, wow. Okay. I'm like, there's so many beginnings. There's so many beginnings.
Okay, how about let's start here because you actually taught me a term that I actually forgot what it's called, and I want to say that it's a twink, but I don't think that's correct.
Okay. All right, let's start there. Okay, yeah, that's a good place to start. Okay. So you're so funny. I love you. It's a dink.
I was
It's
close. I was close.
You're
Okay.
very close. You're very close. Double income, no kids. So that is a good place to start because my husband and I were dinks. Now I didn't even know what a dink was. Somebody put me on. But when I found out I was a dink, I was like, oh, I'm liking this dink life, right? And I started using it. It sounds crazy. But yes, it means double income, no kids. And that was my husband, Coloma, and I living. I mean, we've been married. It will be 11 years next Saturday.
Oh,
So
beautiful. Congratulations.
thanks. Yeah. So we were dinks enjoying our double income, no kids life and, just really just enjoying life. And we
Yeah.
tried to have kids. It just biologically did not work for us for whatever reason. And we were really, we were happy with each other. We didn't necessarily get married to have kids or,
Okay.
so if it wasn't happening, and it wasn't, we were still, there are pain points there, but our foundation was strong and we were still really happy with life and
Okay.
really enjoying our lives. As you
Yes.
know, when you have children, I know people say this, but it is so true. Your life does change immediately, and drastically.
Uh-huh.
So
Oh,
and it
yes.
could depend on a lot of things. Like, the drastic from 1 to 10 level could be like a 10 drastic or a 1 drastic. So,
Right.
um, but yeah, so we um we never got pregnant, and my husband actually is a pastor and works with many he works with a, uh, a program for foster children.
Oh, okay.
And he also, it's a foundation out here in the Bay Area, and it's called Help One Child. And he also, it's a nonprofit. He also has friends who are foster parents
Okay.
and have adopted. And I myself have family members who are adopted or who have been in foster care. So, I'm very familiar with not very, but I was familiar with the foster care
Right.
system.
This wasn't like a strange concept.
It wasn't a strange concept. No, my husband is from Jamaica, and
Oh, okay.
so I learned that there, for him it wasn't, even though he's from Jamaica, but like for possibly maybe his relatives or people different that are from different places where there is no foster care, for
Mm,
them it's like, oh, how does that work? They have a lot of questions. But for me, I grew up going to school with kids that were in group homes or who were foster kids or whatever.
right.
So he asked me one day, what do you think about fostering? And I said, oh,
Just out of the blue?
yes, out of the blue.
Okay.
Yeah, that's him though. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. It just didn't seem so foreign to me. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't think about it, but that's actually something I would be interested in exploring.
Right.
And and just off of that alone, I can't remember all of the steps that we took, but I remember us going to an informational. I can't remember how we got to that informational meeting, but we went to an informational meeting at a church for fostering because it's a very unique place where I live here in the Bay Area.
Okay.
There are a lot of foster children in need, and there are not
Mm,
enough foster parents, and for so many reasons,
yeah.
for many reasons. But so they kind of, and maybe it's like this in other places too, but social workers are, advocating and going to churches and looking and being proactive and seeking,
Ah, okay.
right? And I didn't know that part. I did not realize at all.
Yeah. This is
Um,
my first time hearing something like that.
Yeah, right. You
Yeah.
kind of just think like, oh, how'd you become a foster mom? Yeah, it's like people, yeah, they're actually seeking and looking for people to be
Oh,
foster
wow.
parents. So
Wow.
they'll hold informational sessions at churches or places like that, so people can at least sit, listen, and explore the idea of it because they need
Okay.
foster parents. Yeah, and it
Yeah.
probably is like that in other cities. We just probably didn't know.
Yeah, there's just information that people are not privy to. Yeah.
Yeah. So we sat and I was like, wow, you learn a lot, Mo. You learn a lot. And you're like, whoa. And I was like, wow, you know, this is something that I would really consider doing just from that one informational session.
Oh,
And
wow.
so my husband and I said, let's go through the process of becoming foster parents. Let's get licensed. And then, you know, let's just see, right? I mean, maybe he was committed. I wasn't like 100%. I was a hundred
Yeah.
percent committed to the process, but I didn't know what would come out on, on
Right.
the other side.
Right.
Um, and so there's many classes you take and hours, and you learn so much.
Mm.
Um, I feel like every parent should take these classes, whether they have biological kids, adopted kids,
Oh,
foster kids, because yeah,
that's a strong statement. Why do you say that?
because you learn a lot about children and children, parenting. It's almost like a parenting class, but trauma
Mm.
and how to deal with children with trauma. And I feel like whether your kids have experienced trauma or not, or whether you think they have or not, it's
Hmm.
really informative to hear about children that come from traumatic situations or have experienced trauma. I don't know. A lot of us have like these assumptions and expectations and judgments, and a lot of that is, yeah, it's just
Right.
it's so eye opening and enlightening. Like understanding that you can adopt a baby. A lot of people say, oh, get a baby, adopt a baby. But babies can experience trauma as well. And
Mm.
sometimes that doesn't manifest till they're like 2 or 3 years old.
Wow.
And
Yeah,
so you
people don't
learn,
think about that.
no, and stress, right? Like so at I was gonna say at zero, but at like 1 month or 2 months, a baby can be stressed. So there's just
Mm.
a lot of things, and you can have your own biological children, and your baby could be stressed. So I just think it's like a really, it's very informative.
Yeah.
Sad too, to hear like certain stories. Um, but it was super informative, and as we continued to go through the classes, I was like, sometimes you feel like I don't know if I can do this, but then
Mm.
sometimes you're like, wow, I there's a need, and I want to do this. So
Right.
there's mixed emotions. Um, I will say that, and I think I told you this before. It was interesting to me that my husband and I, and maybe one other couple in the class, were there to get licensed to foster someone who was not in our family. So
Hmm.
I just found that really interesting.
How many parents were there or couples were there?
In a class, maybe 12 to 15 people,
And only you, your husband, and one other
and
couple.
maybe one other couple. Everyone else, because you go around the room and you kind
Wow.
of, you introduce yourself, and a lot of people are like, "I'm here to get licensed for my grandchildren or my niece,"
Mm-hmm.
or it was, all kinship.
Okay.
And so that was eye opening to me because I was like, well, these people already know who they're going to foster. They might be fostering them and going through the process, right? But
Mm-hmm.
like in a sense, the kids, like there's still a huge need for the kids. So you can have 15 people in this class and only two people in the class may be fostering children. So that was just like, wow.
Yeah, that's
Not
mind
only is there a
blowing.
need, yeah.
That's mind blowing.
Yes. At least for that was our experience. I mean, it was wonderful to see that family members step up and that they,
Of course.
that they're willing to take in and take care of and go through the process of, through the state to take care of whoever they need to take care of in their family. But it made me a little sad for, I was like, well, you know,
Right, because out of these, I mean, are they called orphanages, or is that a movie term, a TV term?
no, that's not a TV term. But no, they called them like a baby facility. For some reason, they didn't say orphanage to me, but I don't think
Mm.
it's a TV term. I would
Well,
say that.
well, because you know how sometimes we romanticize issues and problems, and so we come up with terms and names for them, which is like not the term or name for it at all. So I just want to make sure I'm using the correct terminology. But so in these orphanages, did they give you statistics on like how many children, or at least in the area, like how many children are in need versus how many people step up to foster?
Yes, they did. I don't remember those statistics, but they did, and there's a huge gap.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
I also know that there the statistics of Black and Brown children, which may not be a surprise to people, is
Mm-hmm.
great as well.
Mm.
But here it was like really shocking because the Black and Brown population where I live in the Bay is maybe 4%, and then the need for foster the children in foster care, Black and Brown children, was like 14-15%. It was just so much greater.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I was like, my husband, I'm like, my husband and I would be great foster parents, I'm like, we should just continue. I was really committed to at least finishing the process, and
Mm-hmm.
then deciding what we were going to do after we were finished with the process, because you can be licensed and then kind of suspend it or say, I'm not taking in any
Ah.
kids right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you kind of
So
made up in your mind, like, okay, we're gonna at least make it to the end of this process. How long does the process actually take?
not long, I'm embarrassed, but I think maybe if you do it like from beginning to end, it should, I mean, consistently. I would probably say maybe 6 months max.
Okay.
Because then they inspect your home, you have to have references, something, but we both travel for work, and we can procrastinate, and we were just so busy. It might have taken us a year and change. It was ridiculous. It was so ridiculous. Um, yeah, it was so ridiculous. I was like, we got to just get this done. There's a lot of paperwork you have to fill out.
Right.
That was what we were just procrastinating on.
Well, the point is that you guys finished. You didn't give up.
Yes, I was like, we're finishing.
Yeah,
We
you
will
made it.
finish.
You made it to the end. So that's
Yes.
awesome. So we're
Yeah.
going to stop here for a second. We're going to take a quick break so we can get a word in from our sponsors. When we
Okay.
come back, though, this story gets so good. So you gave us all of the formal and all the information. But now we're going to get into your story because it's like a miracle. It's just beautiful how the whole story unfolds. So let's take a quick break and we will be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back. And we are continuing with Miss Larin here, Miss California over there.
Oh gosh, I'm always going to be Miss New York, but I'll take Cali too.
Oh, okay. So go ahead. You were finishing up telling us about the classes and.
Yeah, so I will say that yeah, yes, I was committed to my husband and I were committed to finishing our foster care classes and becoming licensed.
Yes.
But even if we weren't, the social workers would have made sure we did,
Oh,
because
okay.
they need people, so they're always texting, calling, emailing. They want to make sure we are a young Black couple in Silicon Valley with no kids and be wanting to become foster parents. That is rare. I just have to say that is
Mm.
rare. And so they were going to make sure we were going to finish that process anyway. So I just had to say that yes, we were committed to it, but we had some really good people behind us that continue to make sure that we were attending and pushing us forward and filling out our paperwork.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is so awesome.
Yeah.
So, are we ready to get into the miracle that took place?
Yes, it is a miracle. That is for sure.
It is such a beautiful story. Like, I'm gonna try my best not to get emotional listening to it again. I really am, but every time I think about it, I my heart just like explodes. I love it.
Oh, thank you. It really is, you know. I was like, you can't make this stuff up. Like, who I was talking to one of my colleagues, I'm just like, sometimes I'm blown away a lot, you know, just thinking of it sometimes, you know, like you cannot make this up, Mo.
Yeah.
But so in July last 2019, when you know we could go out, I wish it was 2019.
When we weren't
And
on
we,
punishment.
my husband and I were like, we're going to Paris, we're going to Israel. We went to Paris, we went to Israel. We had all
Oh.
these trips planned. We in April of 2019, or a little before April probably, we were licensed to become foster parents. We and like I said, we were like, okay, we're done. Now we'll see what we want to do because we're dinks.
Yeah, Dink life,
Double
I
income, no
mean.
money. I mean, double income, no kids. So we had all these trips planned for the summer, but prior to that, because I was telling you my husband is involved with, and our church actually is also partnering with Help One Child. They have a banquet, a fundraiser every year, and they invite us. And this year, I just did not want to go.
Oh,
And I think I wasn't feeling well. And then
okay.
sometimes you just have to zhuzh yourself up for fundraisers and things because you know you're going to be networking, talking to people, sitting at a table,
Yes.
it's the whole thing, right?
Yes.
And I just did not. I wasn't feeling it. And he's like, just, but I also didn't want him to go by himself. And he was like, just come. And I always do have a good time when I get there. And so I went, and of course was having a great time. And I don't remember this lady at all. This I don't even remember this story. It was told back to me. That's the funny part. But apparently, someone asked me like where we are. I guess I don't even know. I don't know who she. I don't know. But she asked me. We were having conversation, and she asked me where we are in our process, and I said, "Oh, we just got licensed. We're licensed with the county, and you know, I'm really excited that we're finished the process." And I guess she was like, "Oh, okay." I guess she remembered that. I do not remember telling. I couldn't even point out to you who I told that to.
Oh,
But
wow.
it's a banquet. You talk to people. Everyone's here for fostering. So I was happy to say like, "Oh, we're licensed. We're done."
Yeah.
So I guess I told her that. So we leave the banquet, whatever. Fast forward, my husband and I are traveling all summer of 2019, and then you know, we finish traveling and come back home, and in the middle of the day, like on a Wednesday at work, somebody calls my husband and tells him that there's a baby at the hospital that is in our town, in our area. And they I love how they always call my husband, though they never call me, they call him, because
Why
I'm
is
like,
that?
right, like what, right. And this woman tells my husband the story, and basically the baby was born there, and um was like 5 days old at that time, and there was no need for the baby to stay in the hospital, and was going to be discharged but had nowhere to go. And so I'll just stop and say all of this is new for me too, Mo. Like I did not know that. I didn't realize babies could be born and then I guess we don't think about that. Like if they have nowhere to go, where do they go?
Yeah,
Because they
exactly. What
can't.
happens?
You're
Yeah.
right, because they can't stay in the hospital if there's no need for them to stay in the hospital.
Right.
And so, like, thinking of that alone is sad to me. It, like, just makes me sad. So, um, yeah, because I guess we just don't think of that.
No. Yeah.
And so
That's never
so
crossed my mind. And I have three children. That's never.
never, not a baby. You're like, somebody will
Right.
pick up that baby.
Right.
Right? Like a
Right.
baby. So this woman that called my husband said, you know, she gave my husband the story and said like he has nowhere to go and this would be an emergency placement, which means
Wow.
You take in, it's an emergency. You take in a child, a teen, whoever that needs a home for an emergency period of time until we can find a concurrent or permanent home for them, right?
Okay.
But he's
Right.
leaving the hospital. He has nowhere to go. This is an emergency.
Okay.
Can you take this baby?
Right.
So my husband calls me, tells me the story. I'm at work. I'm like going into my boss's office, closing the door, like,
What?
listen. Right. I was like, huh? And so, and you have to tell them that day because the baby's got to go.
Oh
Or
my
or they have to
gosh.
start calling other people to find somebody to take this baby.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm like, we can't take a baby. It's like, we can't take a baby. He's like, no, just listen. So I was like, I don't think we could take a baby. It just was not registering
Your
for, it
brain.
was not.
Yeah.
So my husband's like, well, let me call the lady who called me and I'll put you on three-way so you can hear his story. So
Okay.
I'm like, okay. Now I hear his story, so how can I say no, right? Or,
Yeah.
it's very different. And I was still kind of like tomorrow, like I just don't think. But then I was like, okay. My husband said I'll stay home with the baby. My husband has a lot, more flexible schedule because
Okay.
it's a newborn baby. So I'm
Well,
asking
yeah, and you get the call like on your lunch break, just out of nowhere, and
out of nowhere. So we had to tell her that day,
oh my
that day.
gosh.
I know. So I was like, okay. I still don't even know how or why. I'm glad I said okay, but that was God. I know it was God because who says okay to this? Like,
Yeah, it is very random. It's not like you had time to think about it. You had a file to peruse through, and
right, nothing, right? And we had just gotten back from these vacations. I'm back at work. It was just like it just wasn't planned. You would think you would
yeah,
plan a little bit and
yeah.
a little bit. So we called her Wednesday. We said, sure, okay, we'll take the baby. We had nothing.
Oh my
We at least
gosh.
had to get a car seat because you can't
Yeah, you
take,
can't leave.
right. You can't leave the hospital without a car seat. So she said, I think that, they could obviously tell we were a little overwhelmed, I'm sure. So she said, go to the like we went to the hospital, I think on Thursday, but we didn't take him home till Friday. I remember them
Okay.
saying it was like, let me give them an extra day to take him
Right,
home.
right. You're like, hi, my name is Larin. I'm here to pick up a baby.
I don't have nothing. Right,
You have
right,
nothing.
right. We had a bassinet because you have to have that through to get your inspection approved and
Okay.
like a first aid kit. Like there's certain things you need in your house to get but that's not what a baby needs.
I'm not laughing. Hold on a second. A bassinet and a first aid kit. That's that's the requirement.
And I should pull out the first aid kit and show you. Right. That's what I
Oh
need.
my
Right.
goodness.
So it's so funny. So, telling you the story, thinking back, I don't even know like how we got through. But I do remember when we got to the hospital, um, the nurse was like, she showed us how to take care of him. And I guess they don't do that in the hospital, because my friend said they don't do that. She did it for 2 days.
Oh.
She did it on Thursday and Friday before we took him on Friday. She showed us how to feed him, bathe him, everything. And she said we can stay as long
Oh.
as we wanted to keep learning. So,
That's
yeah.
so sweet. Oh
Well,
my
I was
goodness.
grateful. We had to, yeah.
You had a crash course
Yes.
in caring for a newborn.
Yes, the belly button and all of that, right?
Oh
So,
my gosh.
yeah, so,
But before you continue, because the random woman at this fundraiser, you the tie-in to how you guys got the call.
yeah, so okay, so I didn't know any of the tie-in
Oh.
until the baby was here with me. And
Oh, okay,
someone
okay.
came to visit, because a lot of people came to visit us, which was so nice.
Oh.
Now I understand the whole new mom thing. Okay, like grateful for any food you bring,
Yes.
grateful for anything you bring. I don't
Anything.
even care. It could be a donut. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm grateful for it all. So someone came and brought us food, and she was telling me, I did not know this. She said, "Yeah, such and such told me that she saw you at the banquet, at the fundraiser, and you told her that you guys were licensed." And she said, I'm sorry, it's hard to talk without giving names. So I'm just like,
Oh, let's
I'm
make up
being
names.
careful because names keep people anonymous. So it's hard to like have a sentence without telling names.
Right. That's and I you read my mind because I was like, her, she. Let's make up names. This will be fun. Um,
Okay, that's better because it's hard to not say, let's make up a name.
okay, so the random lady at the banquet, let's call her Evelyn.
Evelyn. And then the woman at my house.
She sounds like a Sasha.
Great.
I don't know why.
I love it. So Sasha's like, Evelyn told me this is much easier. Thank you.
Yes.
I'm like,
You're
she, her, him, who, right.
too many pronouns, too many.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
So Sasha came over and brought me food, and she's like, "Yeah, I don't even. I guess it's a small world. It is a small world,
Yeah.
especially because Sasha was a foster mom who adopted her kids as well.
Okay.
So Sasha's kind of in that
So
community,
it's the whole community, yeah.
right? Come to find out, Evelyn, the person before calling my husband, Evelyn received a phone call because
Okay.
Evelyn, which I did not know even at the banquet, what has been a foster mom in this area for years, like 30 years, and has had
Wow.
many foster children
Oh my
come through her
goodness.
home. So the social workers and the county, especially because this was an emergency situation, they kind of know who to call. And they called Evelyn to see if Evelyn would take the baby.
Okay.
Evelyn is like, no, I can't. I'm not taking any more. She had like, I think Evelyn is maybe retired from fostering,
Okay.
but she's
Yeah.
still very connected,
Okay.
clearly, because Evelyn says, call the Smiths. They just got licensed.
Wow. So she remembered you from that random night.
I don't. Yes, that's why they call up. Right. There's always somebody in the city or in the town that's gonna remember, right, what's going on
Right.
there, right? I don't
Exactly.
know how she did. And so they're looking us up and they're like, no, there's no Smiths and they're not licensed. I guess in the system, it said that our application or our, all the forms we had to fill out were still pending, that they hadn't been approved. And Evelyn was like, no, I saw them. She told me she was licensed. Call the Smiths.
Okay.
This is what Sasha's telling me at my house. I had no idea. So we would not have been called if I would have never gone to that banquet,
Yes.
told Evelyn I was licensed, and she remembered.
Wow.
So
There are so many variables there that if one thing was off, like this story, who knows?
exactly, because I was not feeling up to it and didn't want to go. And what if I didn't run into Evelyn at the banquet?
Right.
And
Or
what
what
made
if
me tell her
Evelyn
that?
forgot? She sounds like she's an older woman. What if she forgot?
What if she forgot? Or what even made me tell her that? I could have been like, hey,
Yeah.
kept it. So
Exactly.
so
Exactly.
many. And the fact that they called her, I mean, them calling her makes sense, especially if he was an emergency case.
Yes.
But like you said, the fact that she remembered and the fact that she was persistent, like,
Mm.
no, I know that they're licensed. I don't know what's in your computer. Like, she believed me from when I
Right.
told her, right? She's like, nah, she told me. So
Yeah.
you need to look it up.
Yeah.
And so my husband and I didn't know this, obviously, but Sasha, like we said, it's a small community, and Sasha came, brought me food, and told me the whole story.
Oh my
And I was like,
gosh.
wow.
And at this point, the baby's there. Is at your house.
And I
Oh
had
my,
no idea that that's how he came to
how
us.
he got
That
there.
Evelyn was like, no, call the Smiths.
Wow. So she was
Yeah,
very instrumental in this
I know.
happening.
I know. I definitely need to. So the interesting thing is that my husband has a really good memory and he remembers Evelyn.
Oh,
Yeah, he doesn't know that, like, I don't know if he was there for the conversation, but he knows who she is. He's like,
okay.
I know her. I'm like,
Okay.
so maybe if I see her.
It's okay, Larin.
Yeah, he's like, I remember Evelyn. He's like, yeah, she was at the banquet. I remember Evelyn. I'm like, who? But there's so
That's
many
so
people.
funny that you don't even have a recollection of this even taking place.
But I really wasn't feeling, the best.
Yeah.
I think I was coming down a little cold or something at that time where we could have colds and still be around people without masks.
Mm,
So
right. I'm like, do colds even exist anymore? Or
I
is
know. And now if
everything
you have a
corona?
cold, and if you have a cold, you better wear a mask now, right? Like before you could go and be okay.
Right.
No, no,
You are not
yeah,
allowed anymore.
not allowed.
So, okay.
So yeah, that's just so it's just so that part of the story is really, really, really amazing. I mean, there's other pockets to the story that um, we were licensed in one county, the baby's family is in another county. So the only reason why we were, and our counties are very close. They're like well, yeah, the counties are obviously close to each other, but where I live is
The
right on
border.
like the line, the
Mm-hmm.
border. So it was okay for him to come to us because
Oh
we were
my
close enough to
gosh.
the county. I know if I lived like further, and we just moved too. If I lived where I lived before,
Stop. I can't take it. There's so much randomness in this story. It's so beautiful.
I know. I'm telling you, he was meant to come to us because if we lived where we lived before, we would have been too far into the county. But
Oh,
he was born in our county, but typically they try to keep the foster children in the county where their family is so that
okay.
the family can see them.
Of course. Yes.
But one, he was an emergency case, and two, we were close enough to the county. We're right on the border, so
And
that's
three,
another.
he's supposed to be with you.
Right,
It's
right.
just like a
That part.
beautiful puzzle. Like
That
God
part.
just put it together.
That part. And it was really like it was pretty crazy. Like I remember the doctor like having tears in her eyes and crying when we got him, and the nurses like saying thank you, because I can only imagine what, like I said, we never really think about this, what doctors and nurses and medical professionals go through on a daily, seeing
Mm.
babies born and knowing that the baby has nowhere to go. And he honestly would have gone to a baby facility, is what they call it,
Oh,
and it would have been far, far, far,
wow.
and that would have been really, I mean, and that, I feel like when that happens, that that's just tough because now you're really far from your family, if they're because foster care is there to reunite you hopefully with your family.
Yes.
And if you're like an hour or two away and you're a baby, and
Yeah.
then it's just,
Yeah.
so I'm
Yeah.
really grateful, that one, we were able to step in, but it just made me think of like, wow, these medical professionals, like when I
They
saw the
see this
doctor.
often. They see it often.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and kudos to them because I
I
know
know.
that's a hard profession to be in.
Yes,
Or even helping to birth children and the parents are there and the parents are no good,
right.
and you have to see that. And it's just so much that we don't even think of because we're
No,
not in that environment that they are witness to and have to deal with on a daily
on a
basis.
daily, and we
Yeah.
don't think of that. And I did not think of that until that doctor was like tears in her eyes, and
Oh.
she was like, "Thank you." And they gave us so many supplies.
Oh.
They knew we didn't have none, and we had to go to Target and get
You have the
more.
first aid kit.
Right, that I still haven't used till this day.
Look, I would keep that, archive it. That's a beautiful story.
Yeah.
So
So
we're unfortunately at the end of our broadcast,
okay,
but we are going to continue into part two because there's still more questions. I would still want you to talk to the people about becoming a foster mom,
sure.
the emotions, the mentality that goes into it, and the fact of the matter is you didn't have 9 months to prepare yourself mentally and physically for
Right.
what was about to ensue upon your household. This literally happened from a lunch break to the end of the next day. And that whole dink lifestyle had to go out the window. And now you're a part of the Hot Moms Club. And there's a whole lot of sacrificing and everything that goes into that. So, our next episode, we are going to really dig into becoming a foster mom and even what other people who are interested in it or considering it, maybe some resources and things that they can look into as well.
Yes, I'm happy to continue the conversation.
Yeah, this was so beautiful. I love it. Oh my gosh, my heart feels so
Thank,
warm and fuzzy. I love it.
thank you.
And your baby has a social media following, does he not? Does he have a whole club?
No, he does not. He's actually coming through the door now.
He's famous. He is he is a baby celebrity, okay?
Yes.
Well, thank you so very much because I know being a mom, you gotta, and a wife now, you gotta balance and
Sure.
juggle. So I'm gonna let you go. Is there anything that you want to let the listeners know before we do end the broadcast, though?
No, we'll just continue.
Okay, great. So, everybody, I want you to join us for the next episode with Larin as we finish the call part two. I love you all. Thanks, Larin. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
And we will see you all next time.